Hello and welcome to Catholicism Explained on Truth and Love channel. I am Ryan Patrick,
And I'm Ryan Joseph.
and we are here to answer the call of our late beloved Pope John Paul II to stand in the truth with love. We are both practicing Catholic men. We like to think that we know a thing or two about our Catholic faith. And we want to explain it to you all. Perhaps you were baptized Catholic, perhaps you were raised Catholic and have since fallen away from the faith. Perhaps you are not Catholic at all and have little or no contact with the Catholic faith. Um,
Or you want to make sure what you've been told is accurate, and you're just going to a Catholic source for it.
right, right, because there's a lot of misinformation out there floating around, particularly in the secular culture and the news media. So that's what we're here for, and we have a special, as it were, this week on papal resignations and elections. So this is, of course, following upon the footsteps of our Holy Father's resignation. Pope Benedict XVI announced that just this past Monday that, no, not this past Monday, last Monday
It's been a lot
of
longer than
last
yeah.
week. Yes, yes. It's all happening so fast. Anyway, our Holy Father, Pope Benedict XVI, has announced that he will step down. Some have also used the word resign or even abdicate the papacy, effective February 28th at 8 p.m. Roman time. So 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, and a lot of people have been talking about whether or not the Pope can resign, and it's not unprecedented. It has happened. The last time it's happened, it was 600 years ago, so it
Right.
has been a while. I mean, I'm sure no one alive has witnessed a resignation of a pope, but it's one of those things that happens once in a blue moon, as it were.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You say, certainly nobody alive has witnessed it, and certainly not. The last pope to have resigned the papacy was over 600 years ago during what we call the Great Schism. So, believe it or not, um, at a single time in the church's history, we had not one, not two, but three claimants to the papacy. Um, and in the interest of resolving this disputed claim to the papacy, the church convinced all three of these claimants to the papacy to resign their office, or at least resign their claim on the office, and then a new pope, an entirely new pope, was elected.
Oh,
Uh,
that sounds like a scandal.
yeah, precisely, precisely. Yeah, fortunately, we haven't had to deal with that in over 600 years, so that's been quite a blessing. The first pope, or rather the last pope to willingly resign office, who didn't have any outside pressure bearing upon him, was Pope Saint Celestine V. And it's interesting because a few months ago, in an event which wasn't heavily reported on at the time, uh, Pope Benedict XVI made a pilgrimage to the tomb of Saint Celestine, and actually laid his pallium on the tomb of the saint. And
What's a
perhaps,
pallium for the people who don't know?
okay, so for the people who don't know, the pallium is that it's generally a wide strip of cloth worn over the shoulders, and it has, in the case of the Pope, large red crosses on it. In the case of other uh, archbishops, black crosses on it.
Mm.
But yeah, this is something that's worn by an archbishop. That's just to say a bishop who is in charge of an exceptionally large metropolitan diocese. And of course, the Pope, being the Bishop of Rome, very much falls into that category. But it's made of white lamb's wool, which is symbolic of the Pope's authority as chief shepherd of the flock of Christ. And so that's the symbolism of the pallium. It's a sign of his authority as an archbishop. as a metropolitan archbishop, and so it was significant. It was a significant gesture for him to remove that and to lay it upon the tomb of this other um, um, Bishop of Rome, this other pope, who freely and willingly laid down the office of the papacy. So that was the Monday before last that the Pope announced during a consistory of cardinals, and that is just a routine gathering of cardinals, for the sake of the Pope's own consultation. In this case, the Pope had the names of three people who are soon to be named as saints, and basically the Pope was taking the cardinals' opinions on whether or not these people should be advanced to sainthood. And when he was finished with that, he asked the cardinals, "Oh, please be seated. I have something to announce to you," and proceeded to state in Latin, no less, that he would be resigning or renouncing, as some people have translated it, the office of the papacy, effective February 28th at 8 p.m. Roman time, as we've said before. Um, so, yes, Ryan
Okay,
Joseph.
so we have several questions that are at
Hmm.
hand. Usually, what happens since no one's been alive or has been alive since the last pope to resign, a lot of people are asking, what do we call the pope after he leaves? Um, and I've read several articles by several different theologians. They're usually called lawyers, canon lawyers, and essentially what they say is whatever he asks us to call him.
Yeah, right,
Like we can't call him
right.
Cardinal Ratzinger anymore.
Right.
Um, but
It's pretty clear that he will not be a member of the College of Cardinals,
right,
and by college, I just mean not an academic institution, of course, but the group of all the cardinals in the world.
right. The and especially since a cardinal's chief position is to elect the pope. He can't go backwards as it were. But it's one of those more interesting things because when the president of the United States leaves, we still call him Mr. President. So it's one of those interesting
Right.
tidbits.
Well, and I've heard it said that I've heard the title uh, Bishop Emeritus of Rome
Hmm.
has been kicked around. I think that would be very fitting and definitely following upon the model of other bishops in the world who have retired. Because after all, most bishops, well, all bishops, with the single exception of the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, are obligated to submit their resignation to the Pope for the Pope's approval automatically at the age of 75. Now, at that point, the Pope may accept their resignation, he may decline their resignation, or he may do nothing. He may just sit on it, which certainly has been known to happen as well. So we have a model of what a retired bishop looks like. He's
Right.
called the Bishop Emeritus of whatever diocese, the Diocese of Lansing or the Archdiocese of Detroit. For example, he's still addressed as bishop, or a bishop's more honorary title is Your Excellency in personal address. So it's likely that um, Pope Benedict will still go by his regnal name, Benedict XVI. He may even still be called Pope. Um, it's likely that he'll be known as the Bishop Emeritus of Rome. It's likely even that he'll still be addressed as Your Holiness.
Hmm.
But here's the thing: he won't be actively serving in what we call the Petrine ministry,
Right.
the ministry of Peter. Um, and that, of course, is a reference to the fact that the Bishop of Rome is the successor of Saint Peter. That's Saint Peter the Apostle, who was the first pope and the first bishop of Rome.
right, and that I'm glad you transitioned into that the how we got the Pope in the first place, and we want to spend an entire episode on how we have the office of the Pope. This one is
Right.
just kind of going into how to elect another Pope. I mean, essentially the base for it is Matthew 16 verses 18 through 19. Um, and if you want to start doing some research, but it's that office is there, and we've had a unbroken succession of popes. Pope Benedict is the 265th, and we are in the process of coming up with a conclave to elect another. And so we can go over the process pretty fast. Um, so we have a pope.
Hmm.
He either dies or resigns. If he
Right.
dies, there is a ceremony that happens afterwards for the mourning period.
Hmm.
I believe it's 2 weeks. I don't know.
Uh,
It's
9 days.
9 days.
9 days.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's 9 days of afterwards, and then we have a conclave that comes together. A conclave is the cardinals under the age of 80. Cardinals are, like I said, there to elect, essentially there to elect a new pope, but they are at the exact same status as a bishop. They just have an additional function in addition to being bishop. But
So cardinals are special bishops.
yes, at the same level with extra responsibility.
Right. Right.
So
So cardinals are not the bosses of bishops, for
right,
example. Yeah.
and a lot of people get confused on that, but
Right.
that's essentially what it is. And so we have a conclave. In this case, we actually have a conclave coming together that knows they're coming together before the Pope is done being Pope.
Right.
And so I believe the Vatican law states that we have to wait 15 days for all the cardinals to make a trip to Rome.
Right.
But since they know it's coming, the conclave can actually happen sooner than 15 days. Or at
Yeah.
least that's what they're saying out of Rome right now.
That's the speculation out there, right? So papal elections are governed by what we call an apostolic constitution. So as the name suggests, that's just a very official document that describes how the church is supposed to be run. And the most recent apostolic constitution governing how papal elections are done was published by Pope John Paul II shortly before his death. Um, and according to this apostolic constitution, uh, conclaves, papal elections that is, should be convened within 15 to 20 days of the current pope's death.
Right.
Now, yeah, as I understand, kind of the chatter coming out of the Vatican, it's entirely possible that the cardinals will elect to hold the conclave sooner because, of course, in this rare instance, the Pope isn't dying. The Pope is resigning, and we know exactly when he is going to resign, as you say. So there's time there to prepare in advance, and it may very well be that all the cardinals or most of the cardinals are already in Rome the day that the Pope resigns office. As a matter of fact, I've heard it said too that the Pope wishes to spend his last hours as Pope with the College of Cardinals. Sort of, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like,
Right.
a papal retirement party or something like that. But yeah, so it could be anywhere from uh, March 1st or 2nd to well into March.
Right. And the
It's
Ides of
hard to
March
tell.
almost.
The Ides of
And
March. Yeah, oh my.
so we have, all right, so they, just getting back on track, we have the conclave that comes together and votes.
Right.
So now the next question is who's eligible? All right, so who's eligible? Uh, a Catholic person um, is eligible. A Catholic male person who has been confirmed, who
Baptized and
is
confirmed. Yeah.
baptized and confirmed, yes, and who is single.
Right.
And you can. It hasn't happened in a while. Like usually, what happens is the Pope is usually a cardinal or a bishop. Very rarely, it's been a priest or layperson, but it's one of those things where it's just one of those rare occurrences.
Right. And even if a priest or lay person is, or a deacon for that matter, is ordained, or excuse me, is elected pope, they would then have to go through the whole process of being ordained. A deacon, a priest, and a bishop if it's a lay person.
Mhm.
If it's a deacon, a priest, and a bishop. If it's a priest, he have to be consecrated as a bishop before he could actually resume the office of the papacy, before he could actually be the Pope, because after all, the Pope is by definition the Bishop of Rome, and therefore, the pastor of the universal church.
Right, and the a lot of news media misses the point. This isn't like a political election. This is not like political parties against one another electing one another. This is a very universal thing. We have I forget how many cardinals we have. I think it's like 200, isn't it?
There,
Um,
yeah, there are about 200 cardinals in the world.
and 180 of them can vote,
No, no.
or
Currently, um, 117 of them are underage 80,
yep,
um,
which is
which
electing
right, which which
election
which
day
would which
people.
entitles them to vote. So the cardinal electors, which we call them, um, number about 117. 11 of those are Americans, and Americans form actually the largest voting bloc after Italy, who has something like 28, I
Right,
believe. So, you know, we're the second largest voting bloc, after Italy, who is,
28.
over twice as large as us. But at the same time, here again, we find our political terms kind of creeping into how we talk about church. We talk
Right.
about voting blocks as if, the American Cardinals ever could or would vote as a block.
Yeah.
It's like, we shall have the Americans.
Right,
Yeah, go ahead.
and it's not like when they vote, it's not like one of those things where they raise their hands and count together, or they say it all together. It's one of those things where
The eyes have
they
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of those things where they go into a they make an oath, or
right,
they
right.
pray, and they say who they're voting for, and it's tallied by I believe the scribe. I forget what that position's called, but
Yeah, yeah,
there's a person who notates this,
right.
and then they end up whoever has 2/3 vote. But before we get into the mathematics of it, um, the important part that I seem to have completely forgotten about was that the Holy Spirit, we believe that the Holy
Right.
Spirit guides the cardinals to choose and elect the Pope. We do not believe it is
It's
it's
much
politics. We don't believe
right.
it's just politics, because it's not. And it deals a lot with our trust in God and our trust in the people God has chosen to that level.
The whole character, the whole flavor of a papal election has it's much less like a party convention than it is a retreat. It's really like a
Yeah.
retreat where the Cardinals obviously they have a lot of pressure on them, and it's not nearly as relaxing as a retreat might be, but it's every bit as prayerful, and those cardinals really do pray for the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and they plead for the intercession of the saints in forming a good judgment about who should be the next pope. Um, so that's the very basics of papal resignations and elections. We are running out of time. Next time, what are we talking about next time?
Next time we're going to go more into this. We're actually splitting it up into two, because we want to add our own speculation, in addition to more information about what's actually going on. Because, like I said, there's more math into it than just the 2/3, um, and there's more. You got the smoke, which color it is and
All
whatnot.
sorts of
All
traditions
sorts of
associated. Yeah,
traditions. But we're going to leave that for next time. And we appreciate you listening to us. And if you have any comments, questions, or funny stories, please leave comments underneath the YouTube page, or
love the
send
funny
us,
stories.
or send us through email. We'd be happy to hear it. So thank you, and God bless.